Tender. I'm now the Evaluation and Development Manager. And Tender aims to prevent domestic and sexual violence in the lives of young people. So Tender was born in response to calls from a coalition of 8 organizations that worked with survivors of domestic and sexual violence, female genital mutilation, and honor-based violence. And what those organizations said was that there was a need for prevention. There was a need for prevention because they needed their services to be known, and there needed to be a change to attitudes at a public level. So in 2003, Tender was set up to serve that need. We now know, because of recent research, that young people aged 13 to 25 are the most at risk in the UK of domestic violence. And young women in particular face high risk. So just a few statistics to run through. 1 in 3 young women and 16% of young men have experienced sexual violence in a relationship. And every week here in the UK, 2 women are killed by a partner or an ex-partner. And yet, despite what we know about these issues, young people are not required to be taught about them. So at Tender, we're working at 3 levels. I can get that to go. Yeah. We're working directly with young people to become youth ambassadors and peer educators so they can have an impact on other young people, on their families, and on their wider communities. We provide specialist training for teachers and youth workers so they can continue the work after we finish. And we provide consultancy and advocacy so that we can create change in policies across whole schools, across youth services, local authorities, and ultimately the national curriculum. Tender uses drama and the arts to engage at-risk young people. And by doing that, that means that we're able to demonstrate, rather than lecture, about the patterns of abuse. So what we aim to do is raise awareness about the early warning signs of domestic violence so that young people can find help in their early stages. Based on the feedback from teachers, youth workers, and young people, we also know that drama is a great way to get young people on their feet and to make a difficult issue into something that is both engaging and hard-hitting. It enables young people to build an emotional connection with the issues, and it provides a very practical way of exploring how do you support a friend who might be experiencing abuse. And most importantly, it provides young people with an opportunity to role model healthy relationships. That's that they can practice skills for negotiating their relationships fairly. So as a result, teachers, youth workers, and young people have said that they've seen a difference in the way that young people act in a group. We've seen an increase in maturity amongst young people. We've seen an increase in the ability to talk about discrimination and challenge that discrimination. And we've seen reductions in violent behavior. And these are the results of a 2-year external evaluation of our work. This is just in schools. Found that 91% of teachers saw a change in their students, positive change. There was a significant reduction in young people's attitudes of tolerance towards violence and abuse, and 89% of young people had fun. Ultimately, we aim to channel these positive changes into young people's intimate relationships. And findings from social psychology have shown that if you use a social norms approach, that is, by emphasizing that positive behaviors are in the norm, that most people conform to those, you can have a much greater impact than by trying to use shock tactics or by listing the negative impact of the behaviors you're trying to stop. And this is why we use the term healthy relationships in our work. What we're doing is we're raising young people's expectations that abuse is not inevitable. So we're seeking £5,000 tonight, and that's to deliver work in 5 youth centres. That will enable us to deliver a film and drama-based workshop with a group of up to 20 at-risk young people in each setting. It will also enable us to deliver specialist training with the youth workers in that team so they can continue the work after it's finished. And this is a model that we've used, and we've found it's been very successful at sustaining work within a youth centre and also creating change in the way that young people can disclose the issues. For every additional £1,000 raised, we'll reach another youth centre in London. We're also seeking non-financial support, so we're looking for venues for 12 to 20 people so we can continue our professional training to help victims, support victims. And what we know is that if you take a room full of 30 children, and if those children have witnessed violence and abuse at home, the majority of those children will not grow up to become abusers. So we know that abusers are in the minority. What we are aiming to do is to raise young people's understanding of choice within violence and abuse. So they clearly understand that no matter what their experiences are, they have the right to live free from violence. So, thank you very much.